And I'll go ahead and introduce our players in the north, or excuse me, in the west as the Holy Roman Empire. As Aespa, we in the yellow is going to be
And
the
over in the north as the French, or east, west, and this other side, and the blue, it's reverse grip. That's the French.
yes, here in the east in the French and in the west. Now that we have our cardinal directions covered, we can get right into the game. Looks like it's going to be pretty well. Going to start with okay, when I do this as the Holy Roman Empire, when I start with 3 on gold, I always end up gathering the gold much more quickly than the food.
It's all dependent on the prelate micro. It's because 40% gather rate is so impactful that if you're good at it and you can micro the prelate correctly, it can result in a really, really quick age up time. But more often than not, I'm exactly like you. I end up with about 600 gold, and I'm still waiting for my food to come in. So that's that's what happens for most of us more often than not, I think.
So I slightly worry about the rebalance, but also it could just be like an extremely fast castle, which I'm definitely not going to out. Of course, here our French player. In the feudal age. My understanding is the Holy Roman Empire also has some great options in the feudal age, although, you know, Russian castle is still generally preferable. And I do expect that we'll see an Aachen Chapel either here.
And the French, honestly, seeing a little bit of a resurgence, I think, due at least in part to Ozzy Drongo's coverage of them in the last few days. We've seen quite a few videos about how dangerous the French can be in the post-Imperial game with the Ribaldequins and the Royal Cannons, things like that. So, wonder if that's what Reversegrip's plan here is, or if he just plans on playing the French as they normally get played, you know, the feudal aggression style. But either way, it's good to see them. They have fallen off a little bit semi-recently, so it's good to see them come back. Oh wow! Look at that Holy Roman Empire. Aespa immediately sending 5 to stone. So he intends on getting a second town center, which is not very typical of an HRE player.
I have seen at a higher level players go for that second a little bit more often. I think it's there. There's an upgrade. There's a blacksmith upgrade. Firehouse. Really bonus to their horsemen and their spearmen. It gives them more feudal age options. And so if you're looking to play against French knights and you're going to be playing horsemen here, I think it could be a viable option. Also, I mean, we do see the Aachen Chapel going up over here. I would have second town center situation be utilized to place both the mining camp and the lumber camp. Get it up very, very quickly. But that's very nitpicky on my
Yeah, I think I like this position a little bit better because you get the berries and the gold as well. And if you pick one of those as a drop off point, you miss out on the big radius. So always a trade off there between using it as a drop off point and really getting the best coverage for your 40% boost in the late game. So I honestly don't hate where it got put, but both players arriving at the feudal age at roughly the same time. The question is if Espo will be prepared for what I'm sure is going to be the early night spam that we generally tend to see from the French. You don't really go up with the school of cavalry if you're not planning on doing something in the feudal age, just because free traders, can be really good if you are allowed to get them up and running.
those the free traders are great, but they're difficult to queue up, and I think that they take a little bit of APM to get at the ideal timing. And so I haven't seen players
There's a
that
little
I play in, utilize
the
that.
they're nice because they actually build themselves. But the only problem, you're right, is that you do have to then queue up the market and get the deal trade route set up. So maybe just more APM than Reversegrip really wanted to deal with in terms of eco right now. But like we suspected, actually, he immediately produced a Royal Knight. The first one coming out any second now, going to be on its way over to the enemy side of the base. And so far, Aespa with not a single military production building. There's the barracks. So wow, it's almost like these timings are rehearsed. Very well played from both players. This spear should be out just in time to counter the Knight when it gets here. Oh, it might be a little late, actually.
The wall sections are going to come up as well, so Aespa looking really make sure that they're able to defend against the Knight, and I think they're going to be just fine. I mean, the spear is going to come out maybe a little bit late. Knight does have kind of an ideal approach angle, but the wood line is very close to the town center, and there's now.
The other great play from Aespa is that he had pulled back all of his bills way before the Knight got there. There's nobody on stone, there's nobody on gold, so he was well prepared for that Knight to arrive. Even though the spear was a little bit late, everybody being on food and wood means that there's nothing for this Knight to get right now.
It's a great example of how even at this players are. And you know, to Reversegrip's credit, they did not overinvest. They did build that one Knight to make sure that through that investment, all the wood and the spears and the production building that would need to be produced. But now, moving right into archers, bringing them across. There was a second Knight produced. Still, they're moving into that ideal unit composition, not just relying on.
The really smart thing about these archers is that I think Reversegrip recognized the wood line placing here for Aespa, and there is a place where he can park his archers just to the north of this wood line where they can shell villagers without the town center returning fire. And you know, he hasn't put his archers there yet, but if he chooses to do so, he'll gain a ton of return on investment there for no risk. Because the walls actually a little bit working against Aespa there means that any villagers or knights would have to run around it to get to the knights posted up on the, or excuse me, the archers posted up on the other side. He is actually going to be approaching from the bottom side though, so that is not the correct angle. But he still may be able to find a little bit of value here shooting at these spearmen, as they are the counter to the spearmen, as we all know.
Charge, if he gets one good charge in, that could be helpful, but Aespa doing a good job with the defense. I love the idea to kind of put the archers up here and then, you know, maybe put a Knight down here for vision and allow them to fire. But at the same time, with the overchop here, you could potentially run. Reversegrip could be a little bit more proactive, but at this point, second town center going down on the gold. I think Aespa's really survived that initial stage. Reversegrip's going much more significant.
It's really interesting to me that Aespa came out and dropped this mill in the first place. Like, you know, you're playing up against the French. Maybe he thought that after he repelled the first Knight that Reversegrip wouldn't continue to produce any Knights and he'd be safe to mine out here, but he was so well prepared for the first Knight that it's interesting to me that he immediately was just like, forgot all that preparation. Was like, I'm just gonna go take these deer out here completely unprotected. But hey, it all works out. No villagers went down, just lost a spearman, but there are plenty of knights and archers showing up. The French player for Reversegrip now definitely heading for the feudal aggression we used to see from them all the time. Another wall coming up here to prevent that exact archer positioning we were talking about earlier. But the military units here for Aespa are pretty lacking. If Reversegrip chooses to commit, he can clean up all of these spearmen and take veil kills without any real retaliation. He might do that.
Oh, this is a great raid charge coming in. 1, 2 vills? Oh, it could have so easily been 4, but it was 2. I don't think he'll lose any knights, just the scout. And turn around right now and kill this horseman.
And if Chivalry gets picked up, remember all these knights will be healed back up to full, right, nice and easy. So very easy for you to regain investment on these knights without even worrying about the lost health. So I love this play out from the French, kind of just showing why they used to be so strong. And even though they've fallen off lately, the same old strategies definitely still work the exact same way that they used to.
Absolutely, and at this level, you know, those very, very small differences are certainly not as pronounced, and you know, allows for you to, you know, utilize units, unique units, really to their kind of effect, right? And that's exactly what we're seeing here, is these French knights slowly build up. I don't think, do we have Chivalry coming in yet? Not yet. We do have a couple low health knights, so I think it would be worth it at this point to go ahead and start that reset.
Honestly, the only thing that, like, if Reverse Grip had not had these walls thrown up, he could just run in circles around this base and endlessly idle the exterior of the eco for Aespa. Like, this game could be over right now if not for the walls that Aespa had already thrown up. Like, these were masterfully placed, and I think without them, there is a chance, and it might be an outside chance, but there is a decent chance that Reverse Grip could have just ended this game right here and now if these walls were not placed.
I agree with this wall and this wall and this wall. However, I think that it might have been a missed opportunity to wall here instead of just walling straight across. Secure the relic here. But that's nitpicky. And the initial walls, I think you're very right, were effective. I was worried that it was an overinvestment, to be honest, but we'll see at this point. And my concern is that, you know, this is a lot of torching damage, and not all of these walls are someplace that can be protected, right? And so they could just be torched down.
Especially if you show up right as the villagers trying to build a palisade gate. The gate's not done, so it's taking additional damage.
Archers can...
They kill the villager. It's such a low health. Yep. Okay, here come the knights. But Aespa has had time to produce a little bit of military. Now, it's half the size of that as his opponent, right? But it might be just enough to keep these knights away. Now he can get the defender's advantage, get more producing. I'd love to see an additional military production building from down here for Aespa. He could very easily be producing out of a third, and that would help him gain parity with the French army that is here already. But here come the knights. They're going to clash. Oh, they ran right into the spearmen. You hear that nasty schnick sound. Like
Spears are getting some great picks here. The knights can't really path around the archers. And all of a sudden, Aespa looks like he came out of that fight in a decent position, just having taken down at least 3 knights. Maybe we'll get a 4th with the town center. Could lose a lot of vills right here, though, and that could just make it all not worth it.
Yeah, gonna lose a couple vills and manage to pull them away. 7 vills gone down here so far for the French, or excuse me, for the Holy Roman Empire player. Which doesn't feel great, but that said, he's still quite a bit up on vills thanks to the second town center. You got to remember that Reverse Grip has to essentially kill as many villagers as are coming out of this town center, or he still ends up behind in the long term. And 7 vills is nice, but it's not enough.
And there's a lot of unnecessary knight losses. Fortunate. Now they do. Reverse Grip does still have a significant military lead. There's a large ball of archers that they can utilize, but with a limited number of knights, they have fewer options. Archers, of course. And well,
now throwing down an outpost on the east side of his base. I like that as well. Going to be providing vision. Going to keep this stone safe. Going to make sure that any approach is seen well in advance, and having the military there to back it up means the outpost will get up safely. And just like I had requested earlier, Aespa might well be listening to the stream. He dropped another military production building for me, so going to be able to get an army out. And you see that defense was good enough. Reverse Grip and Aespa now not too distant in terms of military count. So Aespa is definitely held on here, and I think thanks to the second town center is now in a better position long term.
Yes, Aespa does have to drop these farms, which does limit their military production to some extent, but they are trading well. Able to keep these units at bay, really.
I mean, it only limits his military production in so much as spearmen, but like he's the Holy Roman Empire player. He could choose to produce men-at-arms right now. And that only costs food and gold. He'd be great. Although I honestly, with his current food and gold count, wouldn't be surprised to see him go up to Castle Age pretty soon here.
Fair play. Aespa can see these units moving in. Aespa can attack some of the reinforcing units. Reverse Grip is... He knows the general layout of this base for sure. Sees some attacks on the reinforcing units, but... wants to find more damage here.
On their way up to the castle age, Regnitz gets dropped. Means that there is a significant interest in heading for the relics, not for the infantry spam that the Burgrave would provide. So, interested in playing the long game, the economic game, and a little bit out of position was the military for Aespa. Means that a couple more villagers go down underneath this town center. These knights, thanks to that +1 armor, are able to sit underneath this town center for a lot longer than they once were, but still are going to get cleaned up eventually by those spearmen.
Aespa doing a decent job cleaning up reinforcements at this point. A lot of archers are still over here for Reversegrip. They have researched ram tech, so they have the resources. They could drop a ram if they wanted to start, you know, destroying some of these houses, potentially looking to leverage that position. But right now they're going to be under attack, trying to drop this outpost. Horsemen are going to run in, won't be able to get too much damage onto the villagers, but headed for the wood line. They'll idle a good number before finally likely being cleaned up by the archers and by the town center.
Yeah, the value you gain here is more in the idle than the villager kills themselves. You know Reversegrip is going to be short on wood for the next little while. Means that that potential ram push you were alluding to probably not going to happen. And that leaves you free to get your veteran upgrades, puts you in a tech advantage over your French opponent. And you've got 2 minutes or so now where you have the tech advantage. You can push and make something happen. At the very least, get the French player out of your base.
Oh, but get up those knights out of there. You don't want them to get attacked by the spears. They will run away. Archers. A lot of damage from these 5 horsemen.
They will lose a lot of all the spears, but
archers
in return
go
you'll
down.
lose all the archers. So it's a big cleanup on both sides, really. Still firing at the spearmen, not shooting at the horsemen. They're tearing those archers to shreds. Yeah, I think that's a net win for Aespa, to be perfectly honest. The one thing it does buy for Reversegrip is time. He's almost up to castle now, or at least ready to click up. But you doesn't feel great losing all of those archers when they could be, you know, upgraded to veteran any second now when you get up to castle age. So that's always a bad feeling, losing your army right before you age up.
Especially because there were so many low health horsemen that if he would have just, you know, happened to have had been paying attention, could have focused down and mitigated some of those losses to some degree. We are going to see, I think it's the first relic coming in, and then now the second relic will be picked up by Aespa. So they are going to be able to make use of that Regnitz Cathedral.
And it's the Guild Hall on the other side, another landmark that has somewhat fallen out of favor for a while with French players. The House of, no, not House of Learning. The, what's it called? Academy, Royal Academy? Ah, whatever. The one that gives you extra text from the French was really popular for quite some time. The Guild Hall had fallen out of popularity, but it is going to be what we see picked up here for Reversegrip. Now, there is a window for Aespa to push and do some real damage here if he recognizes that his opponent has stopped military production somewhat and is on his way up to Castle Age. Aespa has actually outstripped Reversegrip in terms of military production, and he'll have the tech advantage as well, being up to Castle for a couple minutes now. So there is a chance he can make something happen here if he's aggressive with it. Royal Institute. Thank you, Hose.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's Royal something.
Reversegrip gonna catch these horsemen out of position so that they cannot continue to, you know, get any harassment done. Aespa doing a good job snagging these relics. Gonna look like they'll grab a third one and then try to just sneak this prelate all the way back. I would maybe sneak him in a more rid path, so that the knights could be. Aespa does have knights of his own now.
And honestly, that feels great. You know, the Regnitz Cathedral giving that boost to your gold production means that having at least 3 feels pretty good. There's a 4th that you could potentially pick up if you're, you know, aggressive and manage to gain some map control. So Aespa, especially with the amount of time he spent up in Castle Age, you know, has got to really make sure that he gets those relics. And I think he did a pretty good job of doing so. Oh, the big charge coming in from the Knights.
And now, with superior knight numbers, it looks like Aespa might be able to go ahead and take this fight. Oh, and now the spears will come in as well for a decisive win. And then now the French archers are being routed here by Aespa's knights. Aespa is going to be able to take the military lead here. For a moment at least. Let's see what kind of production is going to be coming in. Right now, looks like those knights are getting upgraded to veteran for our French player, but we don't see any more being built. In addition, they take a long time to train. And right now, some great attacks from Aespa and old mining villagers here to clean up. Well, only 2 or 3. But we'll still just get, you know, the French player off of this gold mine here, which is exactly what they don't want.
It's important to remember during all of this as well that Aespa is scaling much faster than Reversegrip. He's got the relics, he's got the second town center, he's got a 30 villager lead over his opponent right now. So the French player really has to make something happen before things spiral out of control. And so far, it's not really happening. Aespa has significantly, you know, managed to take map control away from the French player, as well as provide enough military to keep his villagers safe. So he's got to be feeling relatively good about his game position right now.
Aespa is rallying units in, but it looks like Reversegrip is going to be able to hold. Yes, okay, so Aespa is going to intelligently pull back here. Has a lot of villagers, almost 20, maybe more than that, right? 24 now on stone. Looking to build a keep. I think they can turn around and take this engagement now.
Yeah, they're up with that. I mean, that army just gets shredded by what Aespa has right now. All of those are archers. Even with the retreat, I think most of them go down just due to the speed difference. And now you can idle these villagers off of gold and make it very difficult for Reversegrip to be building the kind of units he wants to be building. He wants to be building knights, and he'd like to be building Arbilatriae right now. Without gold, you can build neither.
This is the second time we've seen this same route cause villagers to need to be pulled off of the gold. I would almost love to see these knights just ignore. Yep, okay, good, great. Let's see some of those knights just attack low health villagers and start to get those kills. GG is called. Great game.
Recognizing that the superior military advantage for Aespa was going to mean production had ground to a halt, that unfortunately means the end of the game for our French player Reversegrip. He will take the L. Aespa walking away with the W here on Dry Arabia. That's going to do it for us here in game number 3 of our Swiss bracket section of the Low Elo Legends tournament. That was a fun one. I enjoyed that one. Very back